Good afternoon, everyone. We are so excited to be here. I hope you're enjoying Hunter Conference. Let's do it. We're on video, so let's give Teague and Lee Hunter a big round of applause for what they've done. What a great conference. Woo. So thank you for taking time to listen to our asset management panel. And really, our goal is to really give some golden nuggets, some ideas, best practices, or thoughts from our illustrious panel on how to really improve your bottom line. We're going to talk about top line. We're going to talk about costs. We'll have lots of fun. But let me ask by the way, I'm Paul Breslin with Harworth HTL. And then I'll just go down the line, starting with Adam, and have them introduce themselves.
Adam Tayey with Ashford. I've been with the firm for 11 years now. Prior to that, spent some time with a PE shop in New York doing asset management, and then first foray in the asset management side of things was with Carlson Companies for 2 years as well, too. But strong foundation in the operation side of things, and then stepped into asset management. I think it parlayed pretty well, and having a lot of fun doing it. So.
Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Natasha Scott. I'm Senior Vice President of America's Commercial and Revenue Management for IHG Hotels and Resorts. I've been with IHG for over 10 years, worked across the business in marketing, strategy, brand, most recently in operations before taking on the commercial and revenue management role. Prior to IHG, I have started my career in finance for Siemens and did a number of years in different roles across the business.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephen Eccles. I'm Managing Principal and Head of Asset Management for Noble Investment Group. I've been with them a little over 20 years. Noble Investment is a manager of private equity funds focused primarily on the hospitality industry. We focus on full and select service hotels across the continental United States. We've invested over $6 billion in over 250 assets over the last 30 years.
Hi, my name is Ela Smith. I'm Senior Vice President of Revenue and Commercial Services for Avian Hospitality. It's out of Plano, Texas. And we're going on our third year here, soon to be. We operate and manage hotels anywhere from 100 to 1,000 rooms. And currently we're in about 12 states.
Great. This is an exciting panel. Let's jump right in. And with our focus starting with top line. So we'd like to, I'll start with you, Steve, and just ask a little bit about sales and marketing, and how are you approaching, the headwinds, the objections, the challenges you're faced in sales and marketing today?
Okay, I'm a little intimidated. I'm sitting between two women who are experts in the space here, and that question comes to me. So I guess let me start with, I see a lot of familiar faces in the room. The world is really around data and data analytics today. I used to say 15 years ago that people who have the most data win. But really, we all have access to the same data. Some you have to pay for, some you don't. So the key to driving an overcome objective is really to look at the data and try to be as at least subjective as you can. And you look at it. So if you're talking to someone, just instead of just having an argument saying, hey, you need to charge more, hey, you need to pay more, you can really dig down. You have star reports to tell you about what's RevPAR in the market. You have other reports to tell you about segmentation in the market. You have other reports to tell you what customers are in the market. So if you're talking to someone and you're sitting there and you're saying, you want them to charge more, you want them to pay more, you can pull out the data and say, this is what these other hotels are actually achieving. So if they could achieve it, why can't we achieve it? This is what they're getting from this segment. We are underperforming in this segment. That means we have to go out and get the business. When you can break things down to lowest common denominator and set high-level objectives and then specific tasks based on that data, you have the greatest ability to win in a particular market or a particular task.
Well said.
I'll build on that. As a
disagree with that?
No, actually, I will completely agree with it. As someone who started in finance, I love data. My team will reinforce that. And I think you're absolutely right that looking at what those opportunities are, right? Take the opportunity to really take a step back, look at it from a 10,000-foot view. What's the comp set? What's happening in the market? What's the rate showing? Check Travel Click and see what production is in the local market, and identify how you're going to win. Be really tactical about the next competitor that you're going to go after, and where are they winning? And is it through rate? Is it through occupancy? And determine the right strategy by leveraging the data and the tools that you have available. And you know, from a branded company perspective, also leverage the tools and the resources that we provide through our above property support, whether it's on the sales side or the revenue management side. We've got a team of experts that are out in the field to help support the hotels, the owners, in driving that top line revenue. So make sure to take advantage of those opportunities and resources at your fingertips in addition to the data.
Well said. Hila?
Yeah, and if I can add to that too, is one of the things now that we're out of COVID, we're seeing it especially more in our full service hotels where you have a traditional sales team. You probably want to go back and see, are your sales folks deployed properly? And as the corporate segment is coming back into the, just back for capture, SMERP was a segment that really saved our hotels right through COVID. And there's a shift now taking place. And with the corporate market coming back, do you have the right people deployed? And in some cases, are you present where they're buying, whether it's in C events? Is your listing properly there? And what Natasha said, the power of the brand and the resources that are available, I can't encourage our sales team more to partner with those. They sometimes fail not to use that resource, and it can be a wonderful lifeline for them.
Well said. Adam, anything else you'd add?
Just a 2-minute flashback here. Back in the day, right, as a GM, how we evaluated success was counting cars in the parking lot, right? And it's got a little bit more sophisticated than that, right? So to look at where we've come from as an industry, ultimately utilizing a STAR report and affectionately referred to as spilled milk, right? You saw the mistakes you've made, right? But now have the ability and the technology like Demand 360, right? And to micromanage each aspect of it is just awesome, right? And to sit down and dedicate time and to work with, if it's a brand manager, if it's to work with a third-party property manager, and offer a different perspective on the same data, right? And say, I see it like this. This is maybe where some opportunities, and having a meaningful conversation and a good partnering relationship with that property management team, brand manager, or third-party management company, right? That's where the success really lies, right? As an organization, we're pushing our property management teams aggressively to drive top line, to reclaim market share. And it's through just looking through all those data analytics, which is awesome. But the tools today are just incredible. But that's me putting on a hat from 20 years ago. So.
No,
and
it's good.
Hero, right? Hero with IHG back in the day. So.
And I didn't mention this, but if you have a question or want to chime in, please, we're very open to your thoughts and questions. And the one thing I'd add is people first. If you look to grow your sales, look to your salespeople and see who needs to be encouraged, challenged to go, or rewarded. So some thoughts. So same on the top line. Let's just jump right into revenue management a little bit, if you don't mind. And Natasha, I see you chomping at the bit. Would you kind of tell us a little bit about, what's your approach, what's your strategies, and what are you seeing today in revenue management might be different?
Yeah, so from an IHG Hotels and Resorts perspective, we, over the last few years, have invested significantly in improving our technology and resources. So it's not just that we have the data, but we also have the systems to help our teams at our hotels leverage the information and make it easier and at their fingertips. So we've been updating our guest reservation system. We're now in the midst of rolling out a new PMS system. But one of the things that I'm most excited about in my world is a new revenue management system that just went live last year and is now at I think actually today, we're activating our 4,000th hotel on that. Wow. And it is absolutely best in class, leveraging machine learning and advanced analytics to really be more predictive. It's competitive rate shopping 3 times a day instead of overnight. So we're able to react to what the market and what our competitors are doing in real time. And as we know, the world is constantly changing every single day, every single hour. And so to be able to optimize our rates more effectively is critical. And it's also allowing us, it's got some incredibly complex we call it dynamic differentials, to be able to basically determine what pricing strategy, what discount strategy should we put on the shelf, depending on what's happening in the market. And it's kind of, if I'm an Excel nerd, a big if statement. And so it kind of just goes down the line to determine what exactly should we have on the shelf in order to make sure that we're maximizing revenue and driving profitability to our hotels. So really, really excited. And in addition to all of those significant investments, I mean, through our relaunch of our IHG One Rewards program as well, we're now seeing over 70% of our bookings come through our loyalty members. And just the power of that is also just driving significant top-line revenue at a lower cost for our owners.
Great, great. Steve, anything you want to?
That was excellent. You know, the only thing I'll just add is, you know, every brand, even many companies, whether it's ownership groups or independent companies, are creating these additional pieces of software integrated with AI. And when they go back to shop or make adjustments or run their algorithms so many times a day, well, then other systems are making adjustments. So it's almost like a loop. So, but one thing, I think we've all seen is that the operator or the person in charge sometimes has to use, their own common sense to do things. But to be quite honest, more often I've seen when someone comes to me and says, hey, Steve, the system is telling me to do this, I just don't agree with it. More often than not, you see the system was actually right. The system should, not in every case, I want to be careful, I don't want to make a big statement, but these systems have more data that has more information, and you have to, your gut should be to go with the system first. Then if you can prove out something, you then change it. The only thing I would necessarily add to that is, years ago we used to say, well, we got to keep our prices high because lowering your prices doesn't necessarily create demand, and we want to just keep our prices high when demand is low. Well, one thing I've learned of all the new systems is they can raise prices faster than a human can, but they can lower prices faster than a human can. And when demand is really low, they can really price low. So some of the most recent changes to the technology has been including profitability to the equation. It's not just about maximizing RevPAR and winning on the Star Report. It's about maximizing profitability, and that's the most recent change that I think has been most interesting and most helpful to our industry.
Mila, I know you're.
Yeah, and I'll just add some of the successes we're seeing at our hotels are the room packages. We've gone back and really revisited them to make sure that they still make economical sense for us as costs are going up. Are these the right packages, whether it's a food and beverage credit or a gift card package, that they're priced appropriately for it? Because sometimes, and I'm just using this as an example, is if you do a $50 on top of your bar rate and are out there trying to capture that package, it may not sell because the competitors' rates are $40 less than you, and the customer doesn't quite see it as a perceived value. So just go back and take a look at that. The other things that we're looking at too is our room type inventories. We're finding with all this beautiful data, we can't get enough of it, right, as an industry. We're finding in some cases, especially now that business travel is coming back and some of the corporate travel, that the king inventory is more popular. And during COVID, there was a lot of conversions with double beds, and how do we reconfigure that so we can continue to optimize on it? And then premium rooms. Do your premium rooms, do they really have a perceived value or premium? I'm not saying they don't, but is there things that you can do to enhance that so you can add a premium to that and increase that ADR lift too?
Yeah, and I've seen it with the revenue managers today, the quality, the dialogue on these revenue management calls. And as an asset manager listening in, it's fascinating how prepared they are, how knowledgeable they are of the demand in their booking window. Are you seeing similar?
Just that analytical perspective,
Yeah.
right? It's so much more of a science today than it's ever been, right? There still needs to be that human factor just to kind of check it every so often and question, ask those questions about it, and then especially with consumer demand, right? As fluid as it is right now.
Yeah.
Short-term leisure, what does that look like? Short-term groups, that group pickup now, the patterns themselves are a little bit unique, and the Computer systems pick it up pretty
Right.
frequently, but still you need that human perspective of it just to question it and otherwise. But the talent, to your point, right? You got the students across the way over there and you encourage them to, hey, get in on the revenue management side of things.
Yeah.
If you understand that side of things, you've got job security, right?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And the better management companies, we've had to change management companies, and one thing we really spend a lot of time is on who's the management company, how strong is their revenue management. I'm sure, Steve, you got some examples or thoughts on.
Yeah, I mean, it can make or break a year,
Yeah.
the change of a revenue management. We were talking earlier about it's such an important discipline, and it's one of the real challenges for management companies out there. Obviously, it's tough for everyone to make money, including management companies. How many people are assigned, how many hotels can one revenue manager take on? And, with times being tougher, companies are trying to assign more hotels to a revenue management, and the complexity of revenue management gets more and more. That doesn't really work. So one of the things we really pay attention to is, one, who is the revenue manager, and then what is their capacity, and then what is the management company trying to do to that capacity. If they lose a revenue manager, are they taking that person's 10 hotels and giving 2 to everyone? Now every revenue manager is overworked. So really watching who is watching the pricing of your hotel can really make, and getting a commitment from your management partner about they won't add hotels to that person without at least having a conversation. Okay, here's what we're doing and here's how we're going in it together. Because I mean, all of a sudden you're noticing, well, why is my market share going down? Why is our
Right.
ADR index going down? All of a sudden, you realize your revenue manager has 4 more hotels. Oh, shocking. That's a coincidence, right? So,
We have one project that uses a third-party Dragonfly, and we've been incredibly impressed with that company. And their data analytics, but their business intelligence, their BI, I think they do it with Lighthouse and some others, but it's really amazing that what they provide us every day. We get a report every single day, and it's like, wow. Ela, I don't know, are you seeing anything unique or different in this area, the BI of within revenue management?
Yeah, boy, technology, we were talking about data, gosh, we just can't get enough of it. But, the real question is how that data feeds, and do you have the right BI platform? Because today, gone are the days where you have to go to 5 different systems to pull reports, whether it's the STAR report, the PACE report, your PMS system. Today, everything is integrated. Things are slicker and faster to analyze. We have a dedicated BI analyst who runs reports for us, so our team members don't get boggled down for it. And I think that becomes very beneficial. It's time efficient. You're looking at data, as Natasha says, things are changing 3 times throughout the day. And the BI tools now are updating it real time. So you're making those decisions quickly, and you can pivot quickly with that too. But technology is a wonderful thing, but you want to make sure the right people are analyzing it too. The other thing with technology, I will say too, a little bit different from how we use it from the business sense of it too, but one of the things that we are looking at as a company is the AI. The AI portion of it, where salespeople can be talking to a customer and have a conversation and go through the entire process of the proposal. But now to recap that entire conversation, put a proposal together, AI now has systems in place that we're looking at the cost, so I don't know what the price points are on it, but it is well worth looking at the investment of it, because these proposals can be done within 15, 20 minutes. Conversations can be recapped and put into the system, so we know where the customer's thoughts are for tracing more than anything else. And what it's doing is freeing up the salespeople to move on to the next prospect and the next activity. And the technology also is allowing us on the operations side, equally as important, is when the operations folks are going on the property and doing a property walk, they're able to take notes, and through AI technology, they're able to wrap up the visit within 15, 20 minutes where it was taking hours. And what's happening now is we're giving hours back, which is such a precious commodity, right, to our team members. And so technology is not only being used that way, but then that gets all rolled up into BI tools where it lives there, and now it's a living, breathing document as well.
Yeah. The other thing we ran in recently was a shortage of a sales, a team member, and we reached out to the brand, and the brand helped us with a temporary person to help in sales, but what they really did was opened up our eyes to what we can tap into on the brand side to help us. Could you talk a little bit about, Natasha, what are some of the tools in the revenue management area that you see that maybe people need to take more advantage of?
Yeah, absolutely. So from an IHG perspective, and generally across the branded hotel companies, there's a lot of different tools and resources that you have. There's above property support, both on the sales and revenue side, that can help support your hotel as just part of the management fees that you're paying into or the royalty fees that you're paying into. And that could include, on the sales side, actually going out and helping a director of sales that's new or just hired or fresh into the industry, and helping them, equip them with the tools and best practices that they need to go and win the local business. So back in October, I try to make sure I spend time a couple times a year actually out in the field with the team members. And out in December or in October, spent some time out in Tennessee, in a Nashville suburb, knocking on trailer park doors with our directors of sales at the property and alongside our commercial support system as well, and helping to explain to them how they kind of overcome that no. How are they making sure that they're winning that local business? What's the brand proposition that they're selling? And just really training and equipping. I think we all know the labor challenges on property are, more challenging than ever and continue to be a challenge, even 5 years now post-pandemic. And so making sure that you're leveraging some of those sales support that we have. On the revenue side, we have that same aspect of someone that's looking at a portfolio and understanding what the revenue management opportunities are as well. But we also have opportunities for if an owner or management company wants to buy into a service where we're actually managing the revenue for that hotel above property for them. And we do that for about 60% of our 4,500 hotels in the Americas. It's a cost-effective model for our owners, especially in more of the limited service, where we're able to provide that expertise, that skill. We know the IHG systems or the tools out there, and we can make sure that we're maximizing them, maybe more so than someone that could, be hired into the hotel.
Yeah.
So it really just depends on, I think, the hotel need, the market, the typology, but there's plenty of resources out there.
Thank you. So shifting gears just a little bit, still sort of in the top line, but from a different perspective, the external forces that you may not be able to control, like new hotels coming into the market or impact of another branded hotel of the same brand, or how do you deal with market conditions that give you adverse impact? I'll start with you, Adam, and then.
I think part of it is getting ahead of it, right? So you see it in the pipeline, the supply, or whatever it is, and to get ahead of it and to get the sales team, the property management team focused on what that goal is and when that impact of when that property does open, when they're pre-selling it, things along those lines as well too. So I think it's being conscious of your market segmentation, right? What are you performing in well today? How is that new supply going to impact that? Is it going to hit the leisure side of things, the group side of things? If so, start grouping up or otherwise, right? And start building a good base, build that pipeline so that you've got a good foundation so when that new supply does come in. So I think it's refocusing the resources, making sure that they're targeted on what's going to happen once that new property comes in. I think if there's sufficient lead time as well too, that's where from the owner's perspective is, do we need to reinvest? Do we need to get ahead of it as well too? Is our property dated? And maybe the brand doesn't say, hey, you need to do a PIP at this point in time, but to maybe make strategic investments from a CapEx standpoint to make sure that your product is relevant as well too when that new build or that conversion comes on as well too. I think with thankfully, we don't have Marriott up here. But the proliferation, right, in any markets and the additional supply coming in from some of those brands out there too, we always got to understanding there's only so much of a pie when it comes from a res contribution standpoint, right? And we need to make sure, how do we fit within that marketplace, right here within Atlanta, very much so, right? If it's a Marriott branded or Hilton branded or Hyatt branded, right? There's a lot of representation here. So how do we differentiate ourselves once somebody goes to IHG.com or Marriott.com or otherwise too, is to make sure that we've got a fair representation from the e-commerce standpoint. and to get ahead of it before the new Cigna comes in or whatever it may be, so.
And if I can just
Yeah,
add to that, all great points. And I think what the fundamental is still true, that it comes down to relationships, right? You can have a brand new product come into the market, and yes, their goal is going to be to obviously steal share and get their fair share as well. But customers are going to stay where they feel welcome and loved. And I know it sounds so basic, but it's so true. We have many hotels and locations where new supply has come in, and we're still market leaders, and on the RevPAR, we're still one. And but it all really comes down to the relationship, the training at our staff. You know, are they empowered to make decisions, and are they exuding the culture that you want to infuse there? And more customers are going to stay with you, even if there's a new supply in the market, just because they like it and they like you and they like the product. And obviously, if there's a capital investment, that's a whole different story, and that's more long-term. But there are things that you can do just with service to impact it. And then from the commercial piece, in making sure there's an outreach follow-up post with them too, once they stay with you, that you continuously stay in front of that customer too and are engaged with it.
Yeah. Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, probably not many people in this room who haven't been in a hotel that's got new supply while they've owned it or managed it. I mean, new supply is part of the business.
Right.
I mean, I often say to a GM who complains about new supply, well, why don't we just close? It's so hard, let's just close. I mean, it's what we do. You got to understand what's going on. I mean, everything everyone said is true, but we got to figure it out. And it just goes back to what I think we've said a number of times. You got to have a plan. You got to look at the data. If you have a bunch of meeting space and you haven't been using it because transient has provided you a higher rate over the last few years, well, let's go back and let's fill up our meeting space, and let's go back and go to a different segment of business and make a plan. If this new hotel is meeting space, okay, what segment are we going to have to go back and over segment on? It just becomes a timing issue. I mean, obviously you don't want to take different business maybe before the hotel opens up, but you want to start building that base right now. As you said, building those relationships. I mean, a new hotel is hard. There's no doubt about it. They're going to want to try a new hotel, but you got to figure it out and identify the customer you want to go after and figure it out. And Adam said we might have to make some product changes. You know, it's not always an option to add a new ballroom. I know I get that request a lot. But we got to figure it out. We got to go in. The data is there. You got to go in. You got to make a plan, and you got to execute it. An option is not let's just close. And let's just not whine on every P&L critique till the end of time. We have new supply. Oh, thanks. You know, it's really helpful. So.
No, it's good. So thinking a little bit, and we're all guests at this conference, and many of you are staying. I'm happen to be in Atlanta, but many of you are traveling and staying here, and you reflect on your guest experience. So thinking of the guest experience and the growing expectation of our customer today, you know, they want things that there's, you know, we're well past COVID. They want everything back. They want what do you and more, right? How are you dealing with the rising costs associated with that, or the challenges and just a growing demand of the guest expectations? Why don't we start with you, Adam?
I guess pivot in a little bit and maybe interpreting the questions in some regards, right? So we've got a heavy focus on ancillary revenues right now. So looking at every opportunity outside of just the posted rate, whatever the resort fee kind of gets into it a little bit as well too. So we look at driving revenues through ancillary, you know, so if it's the market, if it's the F&B pricing, whatever that may be, but try and couple that a little bit and still be cognizant of the guest experience, right? Because we're charging more for the room or trying to stay competitive from an ADR standpoint. But making sure that there is value provided as well too. So we, as an organization, we made an announcement a couple months ago that we're focused on as one of our investment platforms, we're going to drive $50 million more in additional profitability across the 80 hotels that we have on HT. So a big part of that is just the ancillary revenue. So it's, as an asset manager, it's revisiting parking. You know, how do we sit today? Is there an opportunity to push it? We take pride in leading the market from a pricing standpoint on the parking market, looking at that, food and beverage, banquets, banquet catering revenues, menus, we look at twice a year now. Historically, it was once a year or every other year, so the frequency of that, just because of cost of goods sold, things along those lines. But making sure you've got the service to support it as well, too. So we continue to push, if it's our affiliate, the property manager, or the brand manager as well, too, is to make sure that they continue to focus a lot of the training on the service experience, right? Using the guest name and all the basics that we've been doing for so many years. But both asking more but giving more as well, too, I think is a big part of it, so.
And I'll build on that. I mean, I think at a macro level, it starts with, for us, at making sure we have the right brands, right? So over the last 6 or 7 years, we've added 7 brands to our portfolio to make sure that we have the right brand, the right product for those evolving guest expectations and needs. Now, you can't open up a new hotel every day or a new brand every day, so we got to make sure that we're also maximizing it at an on-property level as well, and just overall. And I think for us, one of the things that we've found a way to do that is to be able to tailor to the guest expectation and to evolve to what they're really looking for instead of trying to be everything to everyone. For example, we've leveraged our loyalty program to be able to allow members choice. When you earn nights and rewards, you get to pick what you want. Instead of defaulting to something or trying to give them everything, we're now allowing more flexibility and choice to kind of meet the guest where they want. Maybe I want club lounge access, but Adam wants a food and beverage voucher to use for his next stay. And so it allows us to actually provide at a really great ROI for our owners, the ability to really tailor to what a guest is looking for and expecting. And then, Eli mentioned earlier a little bit of like the bundles or packages. I think another way to do this is also around we call it stay enhancements, but when you're making a booking, how are you upselling to that guest and tailoring it to either what you're seeing from their preferences or prior bookings, but how are you upselling them to maybe a package or something that you think would be beneficial, as opposed to making them find it. So again, I think leveraging kind of the evolving booking channels and flows to help to meet the guest where they want and the flexibility that they're looking for.
Good. Please, Ila.
Yeah, and if I can just add one more thing to what Adam said earlier about revisiting the banquets and catering, and we saw a slide earlier this morning saying the profits are improving there because of the additional banquets and catering contribution that's coming in with group coming back, which is fantastic. We're all excited about that. Refreshing the menu, I think it's wonderful as well. So if you're increasing your prices, which I think is fantastic, and revisiting those menus, because some of them we haven't touched, right? Some of our hotels we haven't touched in a long time, and making sure they're relevant to what the customer wants. There are things that we found last year when we were refreshing the menus, working with the chef, sitting down with them, what's not selling? Why do we have this still on the menu, chef, And is it cost effective? Because prices have gone up, and are there things that we want to replace it? And the other thing that we're really looking at heavily is the portion sizes too. There was a lot of waste associated with that, right? Yeah. My husband's a big eater of meat, a little bit less, but him and I don't necessarily need the same portion sizes.
No, it's well said. So let's just go to a quick hit here. What's something innovative you've seen, whether it's technology or something that you're seeing today that's an innovation or something that's been helpful for you in asset managing or leading your teams in your hotels? Adam?
So along the same vein of the ancillary revenues, what we did, we rolled out smoke sensors recently. We've got a hotel here in town. Apparently a lot of people in town here smoke, right? So we've got smoke sensors, and if they get caught smoking in the room, we checked into our hotel there, says $500 they get hit for it, right? So 3 hotels, past month, we've generated over $120,000 in fees. 3 hotels, and they're bigger, some of there's not 120 rooms, but.
I like it.
So you start annualizing that out because of a smoke sensor, and we clearly say, don't do it, right? And somebody, the heck with you, right? We got you. So I think not necessarily something revolutionary, but technology's out there, and we took those 3 hotels, that beta test, and now we're spreading it out to over 50 properties. So we're moving quick on an initiative like that.
Good.
So,
Stephen, what would you add?
I don't know if I could top that one. How do you top that? Natasha talked about the different PMS systems out there, and basically everybody's updating their systems between reservation PMS, the customer tracking information. I find one of the more interesting things of, we all fly and, we all love it on, whatever airline you fly, you can sort of pick your seat. And for the most part, if you're not upgrading or getting an exit row, they're pretty much all the same. Well, that's not in hotels. So as I see some of the brands are rolling out where you actually can go pick your room, to really be able to see what the customer is looking for. Because we all know every hotel is built a little differently. Every room is not the same. There are some that are a little bigger, some that have a corner. And we've done a really good job of really socking it to the customer for suites and premium rooms and things like that through our revenue management. But really having the customer to be able to see each individual room, and one room, maybe it's a little farther from the elevator that someone's going to pay a little more for. Allow the customer to pick what the premium is going to be and be able to charge differently. If you want this room that's really not that much different, but it's just a little bit different, but hey, we're going to try to charge $10 for it. Let them pick it. Let them choose it. This built-in ability to merchandise what you have from a guest room is going to accomplish a lot of things. And, I think most of the brands are just sort of getting there, so I really think we've just scratched the surface of that. But that's going to be something I think is really going to allow that incremental revenue. Because, resort fees and parking, we're all doing it. It's the right thing to do. It's creating a lot of incremental revenue. But you sort of have the feeling at some point that's going to swing back a little bit, and, we're going to have to chop some of those out. So the ability to let a customer pick something and choose it, I think, is really where we're going to be able to make it more sustainable.
Good. Any innovation? Go ahead, Natasha.
I'll take it from a different angle, from a cost perspective or a labor efficiency. We know that labor is anywhere from 30 to 40%. And we were struggling kind of post-pandemic still with being able to equip the new team members on property with the information that we needed to deliver our, XYZ program. And so we actually launched a gamification platform for our frontline team members about 18 months ago. And it was so successful, and it, I think, allowed us to get directly to the on-property teams instead of relying on the GM to cascade information. And it's through bite-sized weekly trainings that we're putting out that are engaging and fun and activity-based, so they don't even realize they're learning. But it's allowed the GM to then focus what on he needs, right? Whether it's setting the strategy, making decisions, meeting an important customer, and allows us to then make sure that the front desk person is equipped with the information that they need. And it's delivered significant success for us from a loyalty delivery perspective. We've rolled it out now to our on-property sales leaders, and it's just been a huge
What's
win.
it called?
We call it IHG Climb.
Oh, okay, cool.
You said game?
Gamification.
Gamification. So
Gamification.
Is that like a webinar?
So
or
it's an app
Okay.
that they use. They log in. It's on their phone too, or through the web. They log in every week. Every Monday we launch new missions. They're anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes maybe of different little bite-sized activities.
Cool.
Teaching them about a milestone benefit, as I mentioned earlier, that's available
Right.
to this member, or how to recognize in an authentic way. But the great thing is, and I think one of the benefits of being in this industry, we have a great loyalty program that we're actually able to reward them with. So we do competitions, right? All hotels, as we know, are competitive. So we actually have them compete in leaderboards and competitions against their metrics. And then we reward them also either for completing the activities or for winning a competition with IHG One Rewards points. So it's a huge win-win.
Cool, great. Any questions from the audience? I know we're getting close to our time. Yes, sir.
I have a question for Stephen. From an asset management perspective, I know there's a lot of inefficiencies, from a labor standpoint, from the finance department, the human, HR departments. What are asset managers? And a question for Alan too.
Sure.
What are asset managers actually doing to are they implementing AI strategies, and how are they working with GMs and the operations team? What's actually going on to streamline those operations?
Are you asking about inefficiencies in those particular departments, or are you?
Yeah, more like the back of the house type of, I don't know, income audit, all of that type of stuff that's being done by a human that could be done by a system.
Well, I think what's sort of evolved over the last few years has been a lot of these things have just become more automated than they are. It's push a button and these things sort of happen. But we're talking about sort of recruiting and selective and accounting and areas like that. And at least what I've seen, a number of management companies have taken a couple of different approaches towards it. It's either they've tried to centralize it, so more of it be more efficient, so whether it's bill paying or audits or different things like that, that can be centralized, and you get one person at a centralized office who does a lot of it, or it's being clustered, so you're having one person over a number of hotels doing it. I'll be perfectly honest, I've seen various levels of success across those areas, and a lot of that has to do with the availability of a particular company to have those type of opportunities. You know, if you just have one hotel in the whole state, there's not an opportunity really to cluster, but certain things are location specific and certain things are not. I think that the important thing that we do, and I think to maybe answer your question, is it's really all about benchmarking. I mean, when you're looking at your different hotels and you're putting them side by side and you're seeing one particular hotel or one particular management company that their POR costs or PAR costs, whatever metric you're measuring, is doing better than others, it's really dissecting into that to say, what is that particular hotel doing, or what is that particular management company doing that can you make portable? And go to, for instance, we have 10 different management companies that we do use, and you know, we're certainly not in the business of giving out trade secrets of one management company, but you know, when there's a good opportunity out there, or the particular vendor you find, or particular idea, you know, if as quick as you can get that out to all of your hotels, that allows you to do that. And as an owner and an asset manager, that is your job. You have to find these opportunities, and you got to get them out to all your hotels as quickly as possible. I'm not sure I answered your question. Adam?
I think pretty consistent with that as well, too. So if it's HR or accounting, right, is there an ability to centralize it? Typically in a tertiary market, a smaller hotel, something like that, we'll bring it up into Remington if it's our property management company. We'll look to the brands to centralize that as well, too, because you don't necessarily have the talent within the market to maybe cater to that need, right? So, but on the other hand, to your point about benchmarking is huge, right? So we utilize Profit Sword for a couple of years because we've got a variety of brand managers, and then we've got our affiliate as well too. So wanted to see who performs well relative to expense margins, things that are F&B margins, whatever it is, right? And then utilize those best practices and focus those other managers on the same as well too. We moved from Profit Sword, and then 2.5 years ago got on an Oracle platform. And the reporting that comes out of that, and our ability to kind of look at every POR, every ratio, and see who does it well and where's there an opportunity to focus and say, okay, now we're going to focus on this property in Memphis. Why aren't they producing at the same level? It's a comparable hotel. Mm-hmm. And just to kind of, I don't know about play them against each other, but certainly look at who does it well, and then ultimately find out why that's effective, and then carry those learnings to the other properties, the other brand managers as well too. So,
and I've recently seen, I don't know if I was talking with Hotelier, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. They're automating the night audit, so that kind of thing is really cool if you can do that and be able to use your manpower. We had a luxury hotel that we asset manage that's very heavy in the restaurant. It's a Cipriani restaurant, so it does over $12 million. And the wine and liquor is very important in there. And we have an app now for inventory that's really cool, and it's connected with accounting, beverage manager, food and beverage, and so we can do tracking of every bottle, and very quickly we can do inventory management. And they taught us to put the wine storage in the order of the wine list. I thought that was brilliant, because our time of managers inventorying is cut in 2/3, and using this app. I don't remember the name of the app, but it's really cool. So I do think there's lots of great question. I think there's a lot of any other questions? Yes.
So we have 8 select service hotels, and I want to know what are the best practices. Let's say 15 minutes for the revenue manager, the general manager, and the sales manager to be able to spend their top 15 minutes, which most productive 15 minutes, which can add value to the top line, should be, and how should ownership ask those 15 minutes question? These are my 3 questions, or these are the 3 best practices to get a very clear idea of how we are proceeding, and are we getting the full advantage of the opportunities which lie for us. And as an ownership, we have the talented staff, and we have provided with all the tools, delivery, CoStar, BI, Lighthouse, so on, Lighthouse BI, and still we see the opportunity, the gap still there. And so as a new owners, I want to know, what questions should I be asking? Hey, these are the 3, only answer me these 3 questions every day or every
That question is for the next group. No, I'm just kidding.
That's a fantastic
That's a
question.
great question. We'd got to get you on the panel. Anybody want to?
Sure, I'll take a shot at it. So, you know, the way I look at general hotel operations and, you know, winning is really around alignment. You have your on-property team, you mentioned the people who are leading it. You need to have a culture that those people know their market. They know what's going on in their hotel, they know their customers, they know the competitive set, they know the demand generators. They have to do that. They have to understand it. If you don't have that foundation of knowledge by using the resources you outlined and really know that information, there's nowhere to go from there. So then you have your next layer of resources, which is I assume you're an operator, you have your owner, you have your regional teams, you have your experts, you have your revenue manager, your regional team, however you structure your organization. Well, you have to have the right people in place to take that information and help them create a plan. So they have to be able to look at that information, and you as the owner or the regional team, you should be able to ask that question. Okay, what are you seeing in your market? You won share last week. Why did you win share? Which segments did you over-index in? And how are you going to do that again going forward? And then your next level, your above property or your regional team, is working with them to fine-tune that plan. And you continue to do that on a regular week-out, week basis. You learn. You learn about your market. I often say, if you lost share last month, and this is what's going on, and this is what we did, and you make a plan, you say, this is what we're going to do to fix it. And you try that for 4 weeks, and then I come back and I say, okay, how's that working? You say, that was the worst plan I ever came up with. I have no idea what I was thinking. That didn't work at all. But now we're going to do this, and we're going to adapt, and we're going to learn from what we saw. That's fine with me. It's when I come back and I say, hey, I see you lost share last week. I see you lost it on Thursdays, and I see you lost in the group segment. What happened? And I'm like, oh, really? Oh, I want to get back to you on that. That's where it gets unacceptable. You have plenty of data. You have plenty of information. You challenge your team week in and week out to understand the information, and then you challenge your team on top of that, who you're paying money above property to drive the result, to make sure they're providing a good plan to do that. I can't answer your particular hotel, but that's pretty much a common across the board that we do in our hotels, to make sure you're learning in your market.
Good answer. Anyone want to add a little something to that?
You know, I'll add to that.
I knew you weren't going to like my answer.
What's that? Yeah, great answer there. And the fact that you guys are still here, not running to the bar, thank you. Yeah. Our financial calls, the ownership group is always involved in them, and our first 15 minutes always starts with the revenue team and looking at the STAR report. It's asking the why. So many times people get into the mode of just explaining what happened, but you want to know why. Why did that happen? And sometimes the group component will win and transient will get affected, or vice versa. Or if they're both down, I mean, it's hard when you're not getting your 100% market share and you're not getting your, and it's negative. Then your conversation turns into a longer conversation, and ask the tough questions, because sometimes you have to make the room a little bit uncomfortable, sadly, to drill into the real questions and get the real answers. But the STAR report, it tells such a story that also goes right into what the transient strategy has been. Was it successful or not? And it's okay to be wrong, but challenge them to try new things and think outside the box, so they're not always doing the same thing over and over. I think that's critical. And from the group sales side, for if you have a large enough sales team, I would also, if you're not already doing it, look at their group pace report. It's really important that you're seeing what's in the funnel out there too, because the STAR report only shows the results of the most present week and month to date. But if and now there's all data that's available to us that we can look at forward looking, and you definitely want to look at that forward, especially 12-day window, to see what's happening there. So you're not waiting to react, and you're being proactive.
Great. We're about to end here. Any final thoughts, quick thought as we go down? Adam?
I guess you look at kind of the current environment out there today, right? Just so dynamic, it's just ever changing. God knows what the headline is today and how it's going to affect our business tomorrow, right? But I think the ability to adapt, to make sure that you're open-minded about it, either from an ownership's perspective of it, be cognizant of it, trying to anticipate how does that impact me at my property in Memphis or me at my property in DC, right? and then start working with the property teams and having those open conversations about it as well too, saying, what are you seeing right now? Looking forward through Demand 360, saying, what is the customer saying as well too? I think it's exciting times, but I think this is where everybody really shines and where those property teams, that partnership between that and ownership, really come to light as well too.
Good.
So it's you got some headwinds, but bring it on, because this is when I think we really flourish as hotel folks.
Natasha?
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think there's always going to be noise. There's always going to be headwinds. And maybe the water's a little bit choppier than we were hoping or anticipating for this year. But I think it's about setting the strategy, leveraging the tools and resources that you have, evaluating that strategy, right, and holding the teams accountable, and making sure that you're adjusting as needed and spending time with the teams to learn and understand how you can react appropriately. I think that's
Great. Steve?
I think the hotels, there's a lot of people with their hand in a cookie jar. You haven't, at the end of the day, the owner, everything's responsible for everything. You have a brand who provides, a lot of value for a price. You hire management companies to run the hotels for you. Everybody makes money a different way. It's very important to recognize that alignment. A management company is paid a percentage of revenue. Yes, there's incentive based on profitability, but they make most of their money a percentage of revenue. So that is what they are incented to do, drive revenue. An owner and an asset manager have to control the bottom line. That is your number one job. And being aware of the alignment and where everyone's hand is very important to helping you be successful in this space.
Great. Illa?
Yeah, I think the message I give to our team is let's be collaborative, and it's the message of our company too. You want to work really well together. It's a puzzle. It's a relationship between the customer, your associates, which are a key part of that, your ownership group, your management company, and your ownership. And the more you can be collaborative together and work together, the greater successes you have. I think some of the best success stories you're going to hear are the ones that you'll find at the very end, is because all 5 of that platform work together.
Thank you. Please join me in a round of applause for our panelists. They were great. Thank you. Woo. And thank you to the audience. We really appreciate what a great turnout. We'll be here for a few minutes if there's anything else you want to ask. But thank you very much. Enjoy the conference.